If they would have kept him, Chris, I'm telling you, because they're all over the freaking place. One week he's with Gunther, the next week he's not, the next week they're all over the place. Bro, if they would have kept him tightly connected to Gunther, they could have made a huge babyface out of him.
Somebody who else was really close to Vince McMahon during his time there was the Undertaker. He is a huge fan of Ludwig Kaiser. And he said this. He said, you know who I had a long, nice talk with too while I was there? Actually, it was Monday. I'm sorry it wasn't at SummerSlam. It was just this past Monday in Austin at Raw. It was Kaiser. I'm high on him too. I mean, obviously Gunther is a little bit further along, but keep an eye on Kaiser. I think he's going to be special. I had a long talk with him. I was giving him my perspective on what he should be doing, and he was like, that's what I've been feeling. I've been feeling all of this. And he's just been waiting for his opportunity because he's been in the shadow of Gunther. So EC3, we'll start with you. What do you think about, from your knowledge of Ludwig Kaiser?
Yeah.
What do you think about him as a character? Do you think he has an uptick? Do you think he has a future ahead of him?
I definitely, yeah. Since I first met him in the NXT and the Performance Center days, and he came over. We worked a few times on live events, and I'm like, this dude's really, he was really good. And I didn't really see much character because we were passing ships in the night, so to speak. Following him briefly, just turning his, changed his body, did all the those right little things, and definitely is an extension of himself from his how do you say? I don't want to say stoicism, but the stature and there's properness. So I definitely think
decorum.
Decorum is a great word. Yeah. I definitely think he would have he's a great worker, but I think there's a difference between having a talk with the Undertaker and agreeing with what Undertaker's saying because it's the Undertaker, but then having the courage to execute even if it's not your time. Pulling that trigger, which a lot of people don't. I didn't do this at times too, where if I feel so strongly about something and what I want, I'm willing to go all out to get it done. And if that means I get gone, then so be it. At least I did it my way. And sometimes to ascend to that top guy status, it requires moments like that. So,
yeah, well said, Vince.
Bro, this guy, man, I was just talking about it this week. I don't even remember where I was talking about it. This guy is all about nuances, bro. Bro, you can tell immediately if somebody's got it and gets it on their ring entrance. You can tell immediately. And every single thing this dude does on his ring entrance is so meticulous and so calculate. These are the nuances, bro, that if you don't understand it, you'll never see it. But because I understand it, I watch him, and you know what it reminds me of? EC3, I swear to God. Here's what it reminds me of. Yes, when you, Dixie, and Spud used to be in the ring, and the way Spud would position his feet when he stood. It's stuff like that, Chris, where if you get it, you see it. And you know they're purposely doing these little things that make you just say, this guy's a freaking pro. He's definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, I look at people from a psychological, wrestling characters, and I look at the psychology, or if they're even trying to implement psychology within their character development, because at the end of the day, there's so much more psychology. There should be so much more psychology in wrestling than it should be good matches or 5-star matches. And I think that Ludwig Kaiser is continuing to add layers to his character, and that's something I've noticed. I like it. I think that he's making himself known as far as a character is concerned. I don't think he's booked very well now, but at the same time, he's establishing his character enough Two, when he's ready, he'll be positioned well to do it. And that's what I like about Ludwig Kaiser. I mean, just to, like you said, absolutely nuances. He'll come down and just have like an aristocratic, just kind of like rarefied air, you know what I mean, type of look to him, and just kind of look around and just, I'm better than you. And just the entrance of Gunther, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I really like that type of stuff. I just wish that he would come out with no introduction. He would go into the ring and a mic would drop and he introduces himself like that instead of Gunther. I wish
if they would have kept him, Chris, I'm telling you, because they're all over the freaking place. One week he's with Gunther, the next week he's not, the next week they're all over the place. Bro, if they would have kept him tightly connected to Gunther, they could have made a huge baby face out of him, bro.
Absolutely. I was
but they don't. What, one week he's with him, the next week he's not, the next.
Check out BrainBuster, the daily quiz that tests your WWE knowledge with winning streaks, stats, and more. It's time to see if you're up for the challenge.
Isn't he German too?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's why it's so nuanced.
Yeah. I mean, it would. Yeah, he's from Pinneberg, Germany. Like, why couldn't they have? I mean, Berlin is just going to be a throwaway pay-per-view, anyways. Why couldn't they have Kaiser turn babyface on Gunther, and it's Kaiser versus Gunther at Bash of Berlin? Like that to me would have a lot more stake at it to it than Randy Orton versus Gunther. Like, of course, you know that Gunther's going to be Orton. He's just that namesake to push up Gunther. But if you want to talk about feeling and psychology with a glorified house show, essentially what you're doing, why don't you have a home country guy represent in a main event, and you could have the match be so riveting that you're like, whoa, like some close falls. Like, are they really going to pull the switch on them? I think they should have done that for Berlin and stuff, because right now, Kaiser is just in a nothing spot.
Yeah. What were you going to say, EC3?
Yeah, I was just going to say everything Dr. Chris said would be awesome, and it's a great story. Those stories require foresight. Those stories require building. Those stories require a vision. Those stories require, putting things into play at certain times. While he's not utilized always with Gunther, that's another thing, kind of harkening back to what I said, like, why am I not with Gunther this week? And then can you pee up the tree enough to get yourself there? And then can you put yourself in the moment, like you're not even a part of the match per se, but the way your facials resonate what's taking place, you're strategically putting yourself in places to incept them of the idea. And I think that's something a lot of talent don't think of. When you mentioned psychology over good wrestling matches, if you have psychology in the ring as a character, but if you have a general understanding of human psychology, that allots great matches because you understand rhythms and flows and the way people react to things. So, like, if you're not going to be a pro wrestler, you should be your psychology if you want to have good matches, I would say.
Chris, they could have made an opponent out of freaking that Da Vinci guy.
Yeah.
They could have made an opponent out of him, but no, they beat the crap out of him and we never saw him again. Okay, so now we got Randy Orton in a very predictable match, but it's going to be 5 stars.
Yeah. As long as Gunther's a top heel, that doesn't leave any room for Kaiser to me. Like, to me, if Kaiser wants to really have an opportunity to shine, he needs to be completely opposite from Gunther. Otherwise, he's still going to be under his shadows. We've seen it because he's trying to do something by himself as a heel, and it just circles him right back to being with Gunther. So because he's affiliated with Gunther, they're both heels, and he hasn't broken away. He needs to make a babyface turn to really break away from him, and I think it will work, man. He doesn't have, I just wish that he looks wonderful. He looks great. I wish he would get a little bit more meat on him, though. Yeah. Like, I saw him in that match with Randy Orton, man. I'm like, man, this dude's like tiny now. Like, he's kind of really, really like small. And I think,
Randy's a tank, though.
What's that?
Randy's a tank. Man,
yeah.
I would-
Same thing with Sheamus, though. He was next to Sheamus, and he was looking like, a very small. It didn't make it seem like he was a brawler. Like he had that European style brawl to him. I think
swimmer's body, as El Snow would call it.
Say that again.
That swimmer's body, as El Snow would call it.
There you go. The swimmer's body. Yeah, I think that that's a good way to describe it. I think that he does have that. I just wish that he would get a little bit more girth on him to look as far as more viable when it comes to the competition against the Randys and the Gunthers and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think he should be a babyface, man. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. If it did have an opportunity to happen, it should have happened going into Berlin. Was that East?
Yeah, you just have to force the hand. So if he's feeling these things, he's having that conversation with Taker. Hopefully Taker told him what it
Yeah,
means.
that's going to help. That's definitely going to help.
And two, going away isn't the worst thing that can happen to then come back and do it. Because even if they flipped that switch and he had a great babyface underdog match against Gunther in Berlin, but doesn't win, where does he go from there as that? So you'd almost have to, if I were to be pitching in my head, we got to this moment. I have this classic match where the underdog almost wins. Great moment. I would have to leave that match like a corpse. I would have to get beaten to death so I can go away for a little bit and retool, reevaluate, put some meat on that bones. But then when you come back, you're hot, as opposed to, well, now you're just the babyface who lost, and now you're back on main event in a throwaway 6-man. Yeah. Or wait, he's a babyface now? I thought he was a heel, because the writers have no idea what's going on.
Right. So, yeah. Speaking of Vinci, I think you could have brought him back at Berlin. If it was Kaiser and Gunther, I think you could have brought him back at Berlin to cost Kaiser the match against Gunther, and then align himself with Gunther now as a heel, and there you go. You can branch off and have Kaiser versus Vinci with Kaiser being the babyface. Man, there you go. And you could have made something out of that. So until then, we got Vince Russo, we got EC3. I am Dr. Chris. This is the Wrestling Outlaws. Have a good night, everybody. So long.